Now if we can get the wheel onto that rock, it should be alright, even if it does pivot over to the left a little bit. We've still got a bit of clearance on this side. Let's see. If you were planning a trip around Australia and you had some money, this would have to be one of the ultimate companions to take you around. It's the Lexus LX 500D Overtrail. This is the hardcore off-road version of the LX, and in some ways it's the Lexus version of the Toyota Land Cruiser 300 Series GR Sport. By the way, if you hear some random crunching in the background, it's because there's all these dried leaves everywhere and I can't look down as I'm talking. But yeah, this has got hardcore all-terrain tyres, Toyo open country tyres, front and rear diff locks, adjustable height suspension, and the various black trimmings. So black grille, black side mirrors, wheel arch surrounds, and window trims. It looks really cool, especially in this colour, although I don't think this is a typical or traditional Lexus colour. Like, I'm guessing that a lot of traditional Lexus buyers are used to deep, rich, you know, maroons and dark blues and greens and so on. They might not like this, or they might not pick this, but it does stand out as something a bit different. Then you see the big Lexus badge on it, it's like, yeah, it gives you that wow factor. Now, obviously there are a number of specialist machines that can get you around Australia in sort of more comfort and more capability, like those crazy Iveco trucks. But in terms of being a SUV or a luxury SUV, this has got to be the ultimate. You can actually get the Overtrail spec in 500D form, as we've got here, or the LX 600, which features a twin-turbo V6 petrol engine. Under the bonnet in this is a 3.3 litre twin-turbo V6 diesel producing 227 kilowatts and 700 newton meters, matched to a 10-speed automatic with full-time four-wheel drive. Yes, so that's the same powertrain, engine, running gear, and chassis or platform as the Toyota Land Cruiser 300 series. You could argue this is just a Land Cruiser with a Lexus badge, but you do actually get more in terms of luxuries and features inside, like heated seats and so on, very thick carpets. This has also got double glazed windows. Well, they're not double glazed in a traditional sense. Double glaze usually means two pieces of glass or two panes of glass with an air gap in between. This has got two pieces of glass with a resin or plastic in between. That helps with security and sound insulation. Whatever you want to call it, it's, you don't get that with the Land Cruiser. But you also get lots of perks or after sales perks when you buy a Lexus. Just check your local Lexus website or showroom, wherever you're located. But yeah, you get like concierge services during servicing. There's also airport parking and you can borrow cars from airports and so on. Again, check where you're located and check your local Lexus showroom. But yeah, there's a lot of after sales kind of perks that you get with the Lexus over the Toyota. I guess if you're going around the country, you'd pick between the Toyota Land Cruiser GR Sport and this. This is priced from around $182,000, so it's about 40 grand more than a Land Cruiser 300 series, or even a little bit, oh no, it's a little bit less than that, maybe about 35 grand more for the GR Sport. But yeah, if you're going around Australia, you could say that you're better off in the Toyota because there's a bigger Toyota footprint around the country. So if you break down or something, or you break something, out in the middle of nowhere, you're likely to come across a Toyota showroom or service center, parts center, compared with Lexus. In saying that, if you do, burst a radiator hose or something like that, you probably could use Toyota parts. I mean, if you go take it into a Toyota showroom, service center, there's no Lexus around, they could probably give you a radiator hose and it would fit under here because it's the same engine, same packaging, just different covers over the top, different badges, and then obviously a slightly different body in terms of the headlights, tail lights, and all that sort of thing. And then inside, it's quite different to the Land Cruiser in some areas. In terms of the trimming, you've got contrast stitching and so on. Fewer scratchy plastics around the place. It's not full leather everywhere, but like that does feel like some sort of vinyl-y trim. Even down here, it's probably leather or whatever it is. You don't get that with the typical Land Cruiser. It's just low down. You get some of the harder wearing plastics. And then the Overtrail features, might not pick it up on camera, but this is a very dark green and then blue, dark blue or even black seat combination or trim combination. You've also got some wood trimmings on the center console and some extra buttons. And once you're inside, great driving position, fully electric steering column as well. You can pull that in and out and up and down. And yeah, I feel like I'm in control, even though this is quite a large vehicle. It's about 5 meters long and around 2 meters wide. So this engine, look, I know a lot of people have given this criticism compared with the old 4.5 twin turbo V8. The V8 had a lot of character and it was a lazy tune as well. Like you could easily tune that up and get a lot more out of it. It would have been great if Toyota Lexus did revise and evolve that unit, give it even more power and torque, because it just suits a big SUV like this more so than this V6. But this V6 is, in my opinion, a decent engine, and it provides more power and torque than the old V8 anyway. 27 kilowatts more power and 50 Newton meters more torque. So you are getting more and you're actually getting lower fuel consumption. This is rated at 8.9 litres per 100, the same as the Land Cruiser. I'm averaging 11.6 at the moment, and that's not at all driving economically. I've been just squirting it around, driving it like it's not my car. So that's pretty good to have that in the real world. I'm sure you could get lower than that if you just drove a bit more sort of normally. The element that I'm not quite sure about is this 10-speed automatic. Now, I've had this minor issue in the Land Cruiser Sahara that we had not that long ago as well. I started up in the morning and drive up my road and it slips into second gear just on that initial drive. So it's, and it will clunk into the second gear every time. Done it this morning. I even tried starting it this morning and sitting on the driveway for a little bit to let the engine warm up, although that doesn't really warm the gearbox up because it's not fully going through the gears. But I tried that and it did the same thing. But then as soon as I go down the end of my road and turn, stop, turn, so it goes back to first gear, it doesn't do it again. It's just that initial drive, the same with the Sahara. Also, when you're overtaking on the highway and you give it like half throttle or something like that, or full throttle, it kind of sits in this nowhere land for a little bit as the torque converter slips and lets through, probably all on purpose, but lets through a certain amount of torque and so on. It just feels a little bit unusual, I guess, is the main thing. Whether it's, you know, totally fine and it's preserving the life of the gearbox, maybe, I don't know, but it just feels a little bit unusual compared with a conventional 6 or 8 speed automatic. And up on the dash here, we've got the sort of, I guess, older Toyota Lexus system compared with some of the more modern stuff like the Lexus GX. I prefer that, I think, although I do like this separate screen down here, mainly for the drive functions, so you can adjust the ride height and all that sort of thing. It shows your braking and accelerometer. You've also got some options for the climate, and then physical controls for the temperature control here, and then there's your fan speed. So it's a little bit confusing, but also your multimedia screen up here. Now, if I want to turn the lane keep assist off, which I do every time I start the vehicle, I'm in Android Auto, so if I'm playing music or something through a music streaming service, I've got to go back to the main page here, then I've got to go into Lexus, then Vehicle, then Driving Assist, and then I can hit Lane Departure Warning. That I find is just a little bit annoying, and there's no sort of pull down menu, especially when you're in Android Auto. There's nothing that you can just quickly jump to it. So I would prefer the newer Lexus GX. The screen there has this permanent bar that runs through the middle that just jumps straight to the driving assist functions, no matter what screen you've got going. So I think the fewer selections you make, the better, obviously, because you're not focusing on the road for less time. Then down below you've got your crawl control, MTS, multi-terrain select, drive modes there as well, and then you've got your center lock diff down here, ride height selections here, and then your front and rear diff locks up here. Sorry, my microphone just decided it doesn't want to work anymore. But yeah, it'd be good if that was all housed in one section. So you've got all your drive modes and all your drive settings in one area, and then your climate in one area, and then your multimedia in a different area, just so you don't have to go hunting around. Obviously, you'd get used to all this and know where everything is. I do like the way you've got the dimmer switch down here, so you can change the brightness of the screen straight away just there. You don't have to dive into the touch screen. There's so many new vehicles now that have got this big screen takeover. Just to bring the brightness down at night time, you've got to go into all these menus just to, so you can drive without it, blaring right in your eyeballs. That's easy, just to go bang, 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 turn it down a little bit. And then up at the back here, decent amount of space, obviously. I think the floor height is quite high. I mean, my legs drop right down, but if you're pretty tall, I think your knees would start to pop up a little bit. But I've got plenty of headroom for my height. I'm 170 centimeters, so pretty short. But I think if you were a normal height person, you'd still be okay here. I've got more than enough knee room, even if that seat was moved back further. I think I'd be fine. You've got full climate controls down here, as well as heated and ventilated outer seats, and then twin USB-C ports down there. You can also access the cubby hole from the back. There's a little cool box in there as well, so you can put drinks and whatever. It's sealed with this rubber lining. Keeps your stuff nice and cold. Pull up blinds in the back as well, and then yeah, those double glazed windows. I mean, they're not, as I said, double glazed, but two pieces of glass basically. So that really helps with cabin insulation. When you're driving along, you don't hear stuff that's happening outside. Also provides a bit of security, so if a rock flicks up or something like that, it's less likely to shatter both pieces of glass, because you've got that film in the middle as well. You've got grab handles for the pillar and the ceiling, climate vents up there in the ceiling as well, and this has got the normal sunroof. It's not a full panoramic roof. And up at the back here, nice big boot. This is probably one of the reasons why I would pick the 500D Overtrail for an around Australia trip as well, because it doesn't come with the 7 seats, so you've got maximum boot capacity. It does have the cup holders and so on in the back there, which is, you know, a little bit not annoying, but you could clear some space there. But then again, you could shove little items in there and stop them from floating about. You've got some underfloor storage as well, mainly for the breakdown kit and all that sort of stuff, first aid kit. You've got a 240 or 220 volt 100 watt socket household plug in the back. Got some tie down hooks on the floor, and they pull out security blind, which isn't properly locked in there. Let's take it for a drive, see what it's like. I'm keen to see how it feels compared with the normal LX and the normal Land Cruiser with the off-road tires and the adjustable suspension. We'll also, by the way, if this audio is not coming out too well compared with the start of the video, that's because the mic decided to stop working for some reason, so sorry about that. But yeah, we'll check out the handling, and then we'll hit the hill climb to see how this thing does. I'll probably attack a few different lines this time, because I feel like with the diffs locked and the suspension raised, it's going to be pretty easy attacking the usual stuff that I've been doing. This engine, despite not being a V8, does provide that beefy feel as well. You know, this is not a little puny 4-cylinder that I'm driving. It's got that kind of grunty feel to it, especially with 700 Newton meters available from low RPM. Picks up just fine. It doesn't ever feel like I'm pushing this thing out of its depth. Visibility is really good, especially at the front. I've got a nice big gap between the pillar and the mirror, so I can see through there very easily, but I've also got a high up commanding position, so I can see all around me. And then out the back is a decent view, but there is a bit of a chunky pillar going on at the D pillar, and the seat headrest sort of pops up a little bit, so there's a little bit of a blind spot there, but in general you've got nice tall windows and good visibility all around. All I've turned off is the lane departure warning system. It does have a driver monitoring camera, unfortunately, as per the latest regulations, but it doesn't go off stupidly. You know, some vehicles out there, particularly the cheaper sort of Chinese stuff, they're not calibrated very well, because look at this, I'm driving, I'm talking, I'm moving my hands and everything, and it's not telling me to focus on the road constantly. So there is a level of calibration that is applied to different vehicles, and I think the cost, you know, some of the cost is justified by that. They've obviously spent a little bit of time on tuning this driver monitoring camera, so it only goes off when it needs to, or when it thinks you really are distracted or not paying attention. Even the lane keep warning doesn't, I'll just put it back on actually, it's not excessive. Like, it'll only sort of push you back in the lane when you get close to the lines, whereas if you just sort of bounce around a little bit in the lane, it's okay. It doesn't completely go nuts. But yeah, I just like generally turning it off anyway. And this is a wide vehicle, so on a narrow road like this, it's probably going to try to intervene more than a narrower vehicle. So what about that suspension? Well, it's not full air suspension, it's adjustable ride height, but it still has coil springs. The dampers basically just push the body of the vehicle up to give you different ride heights. Now I've got it on the normal height selected. I don't think you can drive with it at the lowest height. We'll just try. So low height selected. I'm pretty sure most of the time with vehicles with these adjustable settings, once you get over a certain speed, it'll prop it back up to a more standard height. It's actually staying pretty low. Oh, there you go, back to normal height now. So you can't drive around in your lowered Lexus LX. You have to, well, I mean, you probably could program it if you really wanted to, but you can feel that it's even at, you know, 20 kilometers an hour, when it's at its lowest height, you can feel it kind of is a bit firm and a bit sort of close to the bump stops, I guess. Then you've got a number of different settings, about 4 different settings by the looks of it, when you want to go off-roading. At the normal height, it feels all right. There's not too much body roll. There is a little bit, as you'd expect with a sort of hardcore off-roader, if you want to call it that. But all in all, I think the Land Cruiser 300 series platform, the TNGA based platform, does really well for this style of vehicle. It's got a live axle rear end, so it's not as complex or as comprehensive as some of the European SUVs, but I think it handles pretty good. I'll push it a bit harder. The engine sound is nice as well. Like, it doesn't have that diesel clatter. You could definitely mistake this for a petrol. As I said, it just doesn't have that kind of grunty character, same grunty character as the old V8. But yeah, pushes just fine. This has definitely got adequate performance for this style of vehicle. Like, it just gets up and goes, hardly any hesitation. It doesn't feel like it's struggling or, you know, out of breath. Okay, going back down, I'll just raise it up all the way to the top just to see if it lets me do that. You've got high 1 and high 2. If I stop, is it going to let me select high 3? I don't think that exists. Turn the fan down a little bit. So that's height 2, or H2. See if it will let me continue driving. Yeah, straight away it does feel a little bit, yeah, like it's got a, yeah, straight away it does feel like it has a little bit more body roll, a bit more slack, understandably, and it does feel like you're propped up a little bit too. You've got that higher riding driving position. It still hangs on okay, but yeah, definitely a lot more body movement compared with the normal height setting. Now obviously that's, you know, it's doing its job. That's what it's made for, to have an adjustable ride height. It allows you to go off-road and clear obstacles and so on, but then when you go back onto the road, you still get a luxury SUV-like experience. But yeah, I probably wouldn't drive around at this height during your day-to-day driving. It just feels a little bit too top-heavy, I guess is the best term. Right, let's go out now and do the off-road stuff and see how it gets through. Before we go, quickly, this has the same 3.5 ton towing capacity as the Land Cruiser 300 series, the same 3,280 kilogram GVM as the 300 series, but this is a bit heavier. This specific variant is 2,690 kilograms. That's about 70 kilograms heavier than the Sahara, for example. So if you are towing at max rating, this will eat into the GVM more than the equivalent Land Cruiser. This has got about 240 kilograms left over, which is not much. So if you are planning to go around Australia in one of these and you want to tow a very heavy caravan or a max weight van and you have 5 passengers on board, you will need to get a GVM upgrade, much like the 300 series actually. The Sahara, you're left with about 310 kilograms of GVM at max towing. So either way, you are going to have to upgrade it. That's not that impressive. There are other SUVs out there that will give you more leftover GVM in the standard setup, but I would argue that this is better for towing because it is quite heavy and big and bulky to start with. It's always good to have the tow vehicle heavier than the thing that you're towing, although that's not always possible, but if you can get close to that, that's what I would recommend as a safer option. So with one of these, bigger footprint, wider, longer, and heavy, it's, you know, just less likely to be pushed around by a heavy vehicle or heavy van behind you. I have noticed that you can swap around the gauges and so on down here, and I've got the transmission temp up here as well, which would come in handy if you're doing some heavy towing. It is definitely good to keep an eye on your transmission temperature. So I think that's a good move of Lexus to put that in there. Okay, as usual, I'll attack this in the complete default mode, so don't activate any of the features. I'm just doing this for testing purposes. So if your destination is on the other side of a hill like this, absolutely recommended to flick it into low range and actually use some of the vehicle's features to help you get up something like this nice and safe. But I just want to try it out in the absolute default mode. I'm in normal mode for the sort of drive system, and I haven't activated MTS or anything like that. Diff locks are not engaged. I've even got the suspension in the standard ride height, so normal. We'll just see how we go. Keeping in mind this is full-time four-wheel drive, so there's no rear-wheel drive mode. So far so good. It's just ripping over those mounds with no problem whatsoever. In fact, I don't even think the stability control kicked in, or the traction control kicked in to help manage wheel spin, because there just wasn't that much. As I said, it feels like there's a fair bit of flex with this setup, the live axle rear end. You've got a lot of articulation happening to help press those wheels onto the ground. So down through this section, very steep little drop on the right hand side here, props the rear left up into the air usually. Also listen out for the side step on this side. That is very close, as usual with every vehicle I've tested, but it's not actually touching. There's the back wheel off the ground. Yeah, very good, no problem at all. So even if you don't activate any of the features in here, you can still get through pretty serious, well, obstacles and hills and so on. I would describe this as fairly serious. Like, I wouldn't take this on in my own vehicle any worse than this in my own vehicle. This is probably the maximum I would do. It is very steep. Some vehicles have said it's about 30 degrees. It depends on where you are located on those little humps and so on, but at some points the vehicle is at 30 degrees, which is definitely very steep. We might try to go up this left hand side. Now, I haven't been up there in any vehicle. It's longer and probably about the same amount of the same sort of incline, but there's bumps and little ditches and stuff. I just don't want to scratch the body. So the main thing is, as long as it doesn't get close to the body. There's another track on the right hand side that I've been up in a GWM model and the Land Cruiser 70 series, but it's cut away into the land, and again, I don't want to scratch the body. So as long as if it's challenging terrain, that's fine, and that I think is okay. That sort of mound on the left hand side there steeply goes away over the other side, but we'll check it out. Okay, so we've got the front, center and rear differential locked. I've got the MTS mode in rock, and I'm in low range. I haven't touched the stability control, but I've got the suspension in the highest ride setting, high 2. Let's see how easy we can do this. Right, you can feel the the tension in the driveline with everything locked. It just wants to go straight ahead, basically, that's how it works when you lock differentials. Yeah, look at that, no problem at all. Like, I feel like I could tow a 3-ton caravan up there. Now, obviously the turning circle is not as tight with the front and rear locked. That was no struggle whatsoever. I mean, you can keep turning, but it just starts to get really tight, and I've got a bit of mechanical sympathy. I don't want to fully load it up, even though it would be fine on the dirt, because it can just skip on the dirt, the wheels. So what happens when you lock the differentials, or lock a differential, so you've got the axle at the front, you're basically locking the left and right wheel at the same speed. So when you go around a corner, you can imagine the outside wheel is going to spin at a different rate to the inside wheel. But when you lock that, they're both spinning at the same speed. So the inside wheel will want to spin a little bit faster, and it's going to skip and skid on the dirt. That's why you can't drive, well, you can, but you shouldn't drive on the tarmac with the diffs locked, because it will really, because there's a lot of friction there, a lot of grip on the tarmac, it won't be able to skip. So instead it sends that energy backwards through the driveline, and you can snap an axle. I would even recommend, if I was driving around on dirt roads like this all the time, if you don't need the diffs locked, then just disengage them. Just use them when you need to, when you're in a really sticky situation. So I'll just unlock the front diff. Just to give me a bit more flexibility with the front end. Yep, that back wheel come off the ground a little bit, but we had plenty of clearance there with the suspension raised all the way up. So this is the other track we could go up. I'm just worried about the body, scraping that left-hand side there. It should be okay, like it's pretty wide. We'll give this right-hand side a go first. So this is still quite steep, but it's got these little moguls or little ditches that are strategically placed. So two opposing wheels are compressed while the other two are unweighted. Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on the drive system, available traction, and the suspension's flexibility. So we'll go back a little bit and then lock that front diff again. Here we go. So we're still in low range. I'm in the rock mode for the MTS system. I've got the suspension raised all the way up. We've had some rain in recent times, so these ditches are bigger than they were in previous tests. We'll listen out the side step. I don't think it's going to scrape. Nah, it's cleared everything very, very easily. These cameras come in handy, although they're not the clearest that I've seen in a off-roader. Like some of the Range Rover and Land Rover models do present higher resolution cameras than just that are a bit more, I don't know, that provides like value. It provides information. So if there's a rock coming up here or something, I could see it and see how close I'm getting. But it's just a very thin little strip there. You can play around with different views and so on. Oh, you've got a transparent view as well, so you can see what you're driving over. That's pretty cool. You can put the lines in and all that. But yeah, definitely awesome to have that. I've just seen slightly better systems out there, just in terms of that camera clarity and the size, I suppose. Okay, here we go. Front, center, and rear diffs locked. Highest suspension setting, and I'm still in the rock mode for the MTS system. So right at the top here, we've got a very steep step over, so this is going to put a bit of pressure on the breakover angle. Most vehicles do scrub out on the belly. And that didn't. It just went straight over. So that was just, yeah, again, not a challenge at all. It's more of a challenge for the driver, just to, you know, avoid scraping the bodywork. But it just keeps going. It's, yeah, literally like a tank. It doesn't care what land is in front. Just push your way through. I guess we could go up that little bit there, actually. Oh, that's not that serious. We'll try out that right-hand side, the left-hand side back down at the start. This might not look that serious on camera, but it's definitely the most serious off-road bit of track that I've ever attempted, or may attempt. I don't know yet. It's just, you've got these big chunks that stick out, and then it drops right down into that, and then back up again. And this little step here is quite serious as well. The rest of the way doesn't look too bad. It's still very steep, the same sort of incline as the main section over there. You do have another line over this side, which does look a little bit smoother in terms of not having as many big sort of ruts and ditches, but it's kind of on an angle. I don't like driving, I don't like turning on a hill, basically. I like to go perpendicular, so straight up the hill, rather than be traversing or sort of, you know, on an angle on the side. This goes straight up, so I think this is better, but that probably is a little bit easier if I had the courage to go up there. But we'll take on this, I think. I might put the right-hand wheel straight up that ditch there, and then keep the left side obviously in this ditch without getting close to the ledge there. Just to give you a bit of an idea of how chunky that hole is. It never looks as serious on camera compared to when you're actually here. Yeah, I'm struggling to walk down. In the wet, you'd have no chance of getting up in any factory vehicle, I don't think. Even a Wrangler Rubicon with chunky off-roaders could probably get up there, but that's got a completely different approach and departure angle and all that. Short wheelbase. Let's see how we go. Okay, I'm in rock mode, raised suspension all the way up. I've got the front and rear diffs locked, and I'm in low range. I haven't touched the stability control button. I'll just take my time. We might actually stop at a few points just to check the bodywork, make sure it's not getting too close. Yeah, we'll get out and have a look just here. Feels like it's balancing on 3 wheels. Usually I just make sure the vehicle is nice and locked in. It's not going to roll back or skid. Got quite a bit of pressure on that wheel just there. So we've got the front wheel nicely in the air. It's not getting close to that side step yet, but when that comes back down, we should have some clearance for that front bar. When that hits the ground, as we come up here, it'll start to push the front bar upwards. As you can see, we've got a bit of compression going on with that right hand rear wheel. The bumper's not getting close, but the mud flap is about to touch. I've just moved that rock in place there just to provide some clearance for me. Okay, I'll just go over to the left hand side a little bit. So I keep sinking down to the right hand side. I really want to get it up onto that ledge on the right. Yeah, so it seems to be just driving straight into this ledge here, and if I keep pushing it, I'm sure it'll eventually get up, but I might just put a couple of these rocks here if I can get some grip. Now if we can get the wheel onto that rock, it should be alright. Even if it does pivot over to the left a little bit, we've still got a bit of clearance on this side. Let's see. There we go. Let's ease it up. And we've made it up. That's absolutely amazing. Got a bit of dust coming in. By the way, it's always a good idea to check what's over the other side. I ran up here before just to make sure that there was no, fallen tree or something on the other side, so when I come over, I don't just immediately crash into it. I think the main limiting factor, and it's not really a limit, but it's the bodywork. Like I did scrape the underside of the bar just there. Sorry, Lexus. Other than that, the drive line and the running gear is, as I said, it's like a tank. It just wants to push through anything. If you're going to go around Australia, this is the car for it. All right, let's head off and do the performance test now and see what it goes like. I'll get some exterior shots and maybe go and change my undies. tried out all the different driver modes and I've found that it's quicker in the normal mode compared with the Sport S or Sport S Plus modes. I suspect because those modes just over rev the engine a little bit, which is great if you're doing off-roading or towing or something like that. But in terms of 0 to 100, full throttle acceleration, the comfort mode or the normal mode is the quickest.